We will be also listening to lots today and tomorrow. So by understanding and by having compassion, I believe we can also be critical and also we can communicate efficiently. And that is the way to nurture global talents. So those were one of the comments made by the keynote presenters in this session. And now, as we are gearing up for the next session, I believe that you might be a little bit tired because we just had lunch, but I hope that you can get a lot of insights through today's sessions. So once again, you are attending the Kim Dae-jung Peace Forum 2023, and we are thinking about how to have global responsibility and global peace, and that we can also bear some fruits. And because many of you are here with us, I believe that this session is very meaningful. And we are also broadcasting online, and we are sharing various insights with all of you, and there are many of you attending here offline. I hope that you can stay with us until the very end of today's event. So we are right now getting ready for the first session, which will be held under the title Resolution of Climate and Disease Crisis, Great Transformation of Civilization to Peaceful Coexistence with Nature. And the moderator will be Mr. Kahng Hyung-yeel, the professor of Sunchon National University, and the presenters will be Myung-ja, the chairperson of KAIST, and also Mr. Akeem Ali, who is the head of WHO Asia Pacific Center for Environment and Health in the Western Pacific region. So let us invite the moderator and the two presenters of session 1. So I would like to stay seated and we will speak in English.
Of the Kim Dae-jung Peace Forum 2023. I am Hyung-yeel Kahng, professor at Sunchon National University. It's a great honor for me to play a role of a moderator in session 1 of the Kim Dae-jung Peace Forum 2023. Let's start by establishing some guidelines for session 1. We have a total of 60 minutes, so just 40 minutes for presentation for two speakers. Allowed to each 20 minutes. So 20 minutes. So I would like to ask you two speakers to keep the presentation time. Okay, thank you. And also we have a question and answer after the presentation. The Kim Dae-jung Peace Forum 2023 aims to discuss and explore workable alternative solutions to the crisis facing humanity and the planet, based on Kim Dae-jung's philosophy, thought, and vision. They emphasize human rights, democracy, peace, forgiveness and reconciliation, solidarity among people, respect for nature's right to life, and coexistence and peace with nature. The title of session 1, Resolution of Climate and Disease Crisis, Great Transformation of Civilization to Peaceful Coexistence with Nature. Climate change has forced humans and some animal species into new habitats as their original habitat disappear. This movement of humans and animals into new habitats increase the opportunities for contact between humans and animals and the potential spread of zoonotic disease. Recently, we have warmer winters, early springs, and warmer and longer summers. All these situations increase the possibility that severe and deadly infectious disease may outbreak, which can be a big threat in many countries. Now is the time to think about what's most needed to keep threats being predicted and protect ourselves. Now is the time to find the solutions to climate and disease crisis, to protect ourselves and the planet, Today, we have two honorable speakers, Dr. Myung-ja Kim and Dr. Akeem Ari. Dr. Myung-ja Kim and Akeem Ari, yeah. Would you please say hello to the audience? Thank you. Okay. Let me introduce the first speaker, Dr. Myung-ja Kim. Dr. Myung-ja Kim is a former minister of the Ministry of Environment, Republic of Korea, and President Emeritus Korean Federation of Science and Technology Societies. Dr. Kim is the chairperson of the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. Dr. Kim will make a presentation entitled with How to Formulate a New Worldview as Stewards of the Earth to Cope with the Existential Threat. President Kim Dae-jung's New Millennium and Environmental Vision. Welcome to Dr. Myung-ja Kim. Would you please? Yeah. Everyone, would you please give? Okay.
I'm honored to be here with you for this special Kim Dae-jung Peace Forum occasion, especially at the critical point of global crisis and incredible transformation, both in geopolitical and technological aspects in this interconnected and interdependent world. My presentation today will consist of two parts. One, for how serious the existential threats are regarding the climate crisis, health security, and resource crisis, and the other for how to make a paradigm shift to a worldview to cope with the multiple problems, crisis. Especially for the second part, the conclusion of my talk, I'd like to quote several paragraphs from President Kim Dae-jung's New Millennium Environmental Vision, the speech collections published in October 2000, when I served as the Minister of Environment from 1999 to 2003. This is because I reread it now, the evolution of global environmental issues and the inevitable shift of the worldview, vision, and policy stance towards a more sustainable and equitable future, which President Kim Dae-jung emphasized to cope with the global environmental problems entering into the new millennium, are more than ever inspiring and persuasive as the foresight of the visionary. According to the World Economic Forum's 2023 Global Risk Landscape, the world stands on the edge of the low growth and low cooperation era and more brutal trade-off risk eroding climate action, human development, and future resilience. Geopolitical fragmentation will drive geopolitical warfare and heighten the risk of multi-domain conflicts. Amid the fourth industrial revolution, technology will exacerbate inequality, while risks from cybersecurity and AI evolution will remain a constant concern. As volatility in multiple domains grows in parallel, the risk of crisis accelerates. What are the existential risks or threats? An existential risk is an event that could cause even human extinction or drastically curtail humanity's potential. According to the Cambridge Project, the greatest threats to the human species are anthropogenic, such as AI, global warming, nuclear war, and rogue biotech. A pandemic is classified as a non-anthropogenic risk. This graph shows atmospheric CO2 concentration and global surface temperature change during the past 50 million years and projections for the next 280 years. On the right, shared socioeconomic pathways offer climate change scenarios of projected socioeconomic global changes. The 5 methods are from SSP1, sustainability, taking the green road, to SSP5, the business as usual, fossil fueled development. On the left, narrowing the time scale to modern Earth history, the global mean temperature change from pre-industrial levels in the 1850s will likely surge to record levels in the next 5 years to become the warmest. Global CO2 emissions also increasing accordingly during the period, as you see on the right side. This world map depicts the worst global temperature anomalies for June, July, and August this year. It shows how much warmer or cooler different regions of the Earth were compared to the baseline average from 1951 to 1980. This map shows that the advanced economy has significantly contributed to the accumulated global CO2 emissions, while the South has suffered underdevelopment. Below, on the right side, you can see the Regional Climate Change Vulnerability Index, depicted in red in the developing countries with extreme risk. This is a very complicated diagram. Depicting the climate crisis overall effect and consequence, summarizing the mechanism, characteristics, and socioeconomic threats. The emission of, as you know, the emission of greenhouse gases causes a rise in the average global surface temperature by shielding the radiation back into space. The characteristics of climate change have been manifested by global warming, changes in cloud cover and precipitation over land, melting of ice caps and glaciers, the rise of sea level, ocean temperature rise, and whatnot. The consequences of climate change are ultimately manifested in frequent natural disasters such as cyclones, floods, heat waves, and droughts on the global level. Such harsh conditions lead to an international conflict over energy, food, fresh water, and other resources. This diagram depicts an example of cascading impacts from extreme climate events on food security and the well-being of people. Security means a situation when you cannot buy it despite you have money. Korea was ranked 32nd in 2020 on the World Food Security Index announced yearly by The Economist, the lowest among OECD 38 countries with self-sufficiency of less than 20%. Korea's ranking continues to fall from 24th in 2017 to 29th in 2019. This shows the increasing tendency of global natural disasters from the year 1900 to 2020. I spent a long time making this slide, summarizing the history of deadly pandemics from ancient Greece to 2020 COVID-19 through the Middle Ages. In the interest of time, I will skip this slide here. Human civilization has been nothing less than a consistent struggle against great plagues, and history tells us that the pandemic has been closely linked to climate change, famine, weakened human immunity, and social conflicts. The COVID-19 vaccine is the most remarkable pioneering story in developing a new messenger RNA vaccine in less than a year with the two scientists, Dr. Katalin Kariko and Professor Du Weissman at the University of Pennsylvania, winning the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine this year. However, as you can see, many types of vaccines have not yet been set, and international cooperation is needed to close the gap between the countries in vaccination. This photo in Life magazine 1955 shows an American family celebrating the dawn of throwaway living, partly thanks to disposable plastics in the mass production and consumption era. Single-use plastics have brought great convenience to people worldwide, but make up a big part of the plastic waste that is choking our oceans and biosphere. A whale was found dying off the coast of Norway with 30 colorful plastic bags in its stomach in 2017. Now, I will turn to, as a new paradigm of development, I will turn to sustainable development. What is sustainable development? In short, it emphasizes the three concepts of sustainability, equity, and efficiency. Sustainability means action based on proper recognition of the finiteness of natural resources and their generative capacity. Equity means development that recognizes the need for an equitable use of resources to balance the needs of the present with those of future generations, and the needs of the global north with those of the global south. Finally, efficiency means development that goes beyond policies based on supply-side economics to emphasize proper demand management. To transition to sustainable business, the triple bottom line theory in the 1990s expanded conventional business success metrics to include an organization's contributions to social well-being, environmental health, and a just economy. Say, profit, people, considering profit, people, and planet. In recent years, the ESG movement has grown from a corporate social responsibility initiative launched by the UN into a global phenomenon of representing more than 30 trillion US dollars in assets under management. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development adopted by all UN member states in 2015 provides a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet Earth now and into the future. The 17 SDGs are an urgent call for action by all countries in a global partnership. Ending poverty and other deprivations must go hand in hand with strategies that improve health and education, reduce inequality, and spur economic growth, all while tackling climate change and working to preserve the planet Earth. Now, circular economy. According to the US Environmental Protection Agency, a circular economy reduces material use, redesigns materials, products, and services to be less resource intensive and recaptures waste. This means designing for durability, reuse, remanufacturing, and recycling to keep products, components, and materials circulating in the economy. Now, from here to the end of my talk, I would like to conclude by quoting President Kim Dae-jung's New Millennium Visionary speeches on transitioning toward a new worldview of global responsibility and global peace, along with the coexistence of humans with nature as the stewards of the earth. I quote, "The 21st century is an environmental era when growth is impossible without ecological protection. It's the age of environment. We must thoroughly correct the wrong environmental views of the past developmental era, which regarded nature only as objects of conquest and exploitation. A global effort must be made to save the global village on the path to destruction. It is time for a new environmental perspective, considering the earth as a mother and all creatures as sisters and brothers. Democracy and respect for human rights should be globalized, and efforts to preserve the environment should be globalized. I want to emphasize that human rights are essential because poorer countries and poorer people suffer the most from environmental damage," unquote. Of all the creatures on the planet, no one has destroyed the environment more than humans. In so doing, we are finally facing planetary existential risks. There is an increasing danger that climate change will eventually destroy human civilization. Environmental degradation in Korea and worldwide is severe and threatens the existence of humans, the biosphere, and the earth, including extreme weather events, pollution, and diseases. We need to feel an urgent sense of global responsibility beyond the sense of crisis and foresee imminent and frightening damage in the future. I feel guilty as a human being when I see so many fish being killed. Ocean pollution must be stopped. Animals and plants living in the ocean all have the right to live soundly with life just like us. We must consider the environment the imperative element in national policies. Being an economic and scientific leader country is essential, but environmental issues must be addressed with the cooperation of all citizens and experts to become a world-class country. The national environmental vision of the People's Government of the Republic of Korea is to create a sustainable and prosperous community where humans and nature coexist by firmly establishing eco-friendly conditions in all areas of society. We will shift the environmental policy focused on post-processing to prevention first. In this vein, the ROK promulgated a sustainable development national policy seeking symbiotic ecological protection, and economic growth. We aim to build a resource-circulating economic and social system with high ecological efficiency. The priority is to minimize the input of raw materials and energy, maximize the reuse and recycling of renewable resources, and actively reduce the emission of harmful wastes. National policy-wise, environmental policies should be based on the market economy and democracy, ensuring the autonomy of private companies to enhance environmental improvement effects while minimizing the burden on companies. Various systems will be utilized to assess the environmental impacts of policies and projects proposed by the central and local governments in advance and decide whether to implement them. I look forward to the active participation of NGOs striving for human coexistence with nature, such as respect for environmental justice and human rights. The international community's attention and support are being requested for them, unquote. The environmental industry is becoming a high value-added industry in the 21st century. We will do our utmost to develop technologies to save the earth and foster the ecological sector. Through this, we will not only solve environmental problems, but also promote the environmental industry to become one of the strategic industries of the 24th century. Thanks to environmental friendly technologies, we will focus on improving the essential living conditions of the people, such as supplying compressed natural gas CNG buses to alleviate urban air pollution. We also implement comprehensive measures to improve the water quality of the 4 major rivers nationwide, including the Nakdong River, by designating waterside zones and security forests to manage water for co-prosperity. Thus, all residents upstream and downstream of the 4 rivers basin will participate in creating clean water and enjoy its benefits equally, unquote. International agreements on the environment are already becoming an essential factor in reshaping the global economic order. Without environmental management capabilities, clean technologies, and recycling technologies, no country can revitalize its ailing land and nature, lead a healthy national life, and sustain competitive economic development. The ecological deterioration of one country is no longer the sole responsibility of each country. Pollution knows no border. The exchange of information and technology between countries and joint measures must be strengthened through regional and global cooperation. The Republic of Korea will establish the status of an environmentally advanced country by taking the lead in coping with global environmental agendas. We will proactively deal with common ecological issues required by the UNFCCC and become active in environmental cooperation among Northeast Asian countries, end quote. This is an excerpt from President Kim Dae-jung's speech collection. When the Environment Ministry created this collection of speeches in October 2000 during my term, I had no idea that 23 years later I would be featured with President Kim Dae-jung's messages in this Kim Dae-jung Peace Forum. Recognizing human limitations within the vast universe should provide clues for change. As Homo faber and Homo sapiens, humans are distinct from other organisms. However, humans alone do not constitute a proper unit of life. Humans cannot exist without a holistic system that includes other life forms. Despite the limitations, humans may well be endowed with the ability to protect life as it exists in our world. Humans have global responsibility to realize global peace by reconciliation with nature. It may all depend on whether we will make the decision. As members of the Earth ecosystem, it is time to participate in a shift towards sustainable development before it is too late. For that, we need to formulate a new worldview to help us overcome the current crisis and develop a new system of values as global citizens and stewards of Earth. Only when we embrace a new set of values through a deep soul searching about the purpose of our present technological civilization and what the proper relationship between nature and humans should be, will a fundamental approach to existential threats become possible. The solutions must be sought through an interdisciplinary and integrated approach with dialogues between different views and interest groups. In this sense, I believe that meetings like today's are meaningful in every sense. In closing, it is an infinite honor to speak to you today, even briefly, about President Kim Dae-jung's governing philosophy and environmental vision. I'm delighted that this Kim Dae-jung Peace Forum is taking place today ahead of the 100th birth anniversary of President Kim Dae-jung on January 6, 2024, next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kim, for your fabulous presentation and highlighting the importance of Kim Dae-jung's thought and vision and integrating approach to tackle both climate and disease crisis. Let's hear more about solution to climate and disease crisis from the second speaker, Dr. Akeem Ali. Let me introduce the second speaker, Dr. Akeem Ali. Dr. Akeem Ali is the head of WHO Asia Pacific Center for Environment and Health in the Western Pacific region. He had led local public health authorities in the United Kingdom over a 10-year period. Dr. Akeem Ali, would you please?
Thank you very much for that kind introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. I will keep it very brief. I start on two key points. One, that good health and well-being is both a prerequisite and a catalyst for peace, stability, and prosperity. My second point is that anything that threatens health and well-being is definitely not a good thing for peace and stability. And climate crisis and environmental degradation, as you've heard previously, does threaten human health. It is, in fact, possibly the greatest health emergency that we have of our time. Therefore, today, I'm really going to focus on exactly why we should pay attention and also examine what we've done so far and how we can accelerate further effort in this area, looking particularly at the social impact of climate change and the health crisis that relates to it. And I will mention some of the ongoing work that builds on what you've heard around trust, leadership, interconnectedness, moral responsibility, equity, and all of that. It would be a reminder to start with of all the key issues, and then looking forward to a better, positive endeavor in the way we work together to achieve better health through better attention to our climate and environment, and therefore peace, stability, and prosperity for the world. This is just a quick thing to show that everywhere in the world we do have greenhouse gas emissions, we have a carbon footprint that it's not conducive to human health. The challenge, though, is that the parts of the world where we have the greatest carbon footprint is not exactly where we get the greatest repercussions. Because not only are many parts of the world where you have vulnerability, diseases, already at tenterhooks and suffering, the climate crisis pile on top of that. And therefore, what you've heard in terms of moral responsibility, equity, social justice become extremely important, because that is an additional threat to human health. And if you think about it, in a place that is already vulnerable, that is already fragile because of conflict, that is now experiencing a climate crisis that impacts on human health, we can just see the vicious cycle creating more and more challenge for us as humans. It's not enough to talk about the challenge of today. Air pollution kills a lot of people. Premature deaths from air pollution is estimated to be about 9 million people every year. That's about the size of the city of Seoul. But if we project into the future, up to 250,000 people between 2030 and 2050 could die prematurely because of climate crisis. And that's modulated through heat exposure, diarrhea diseases, childhood malnutrition from food insecurity, vector-borne diseases like malaria, water-related diseases like diarrhea that is causing excess number of deaths. That is not an acceptable place for us to be in this day and age, based on all the technologies that we have. However, those technology advancements also drive the environmental degradation and the climate crisis that we have, particularly in the Asia-Pacific region, where we have the greatest economic growth in the world. But we can't say we shouldn't grow. The question is, how do we grow sustainably, in a just way, and in a way that takes care of the environment that we want to live for the future? Climate crisis and environmental degradation causes ill health. But it doesn't stop there. It also destroys the infrastructure where we expect to receive health care when it's needed. That's a picture of a hospital complex in Bangladesh following a big natural disaster. And that's what happened in Fiji after Winston. A few health centers got destroyed and got carried away. Now, how would people receive health care in those kind of places immediately post such disasters? And we are seeing more of those. Dr. Kim just showed you a slide with those figures of increasing natural disasters around the world. This is the challenge that we face now, and we have to do something before it's too late. That's a picture of the wildfire in Australia following the heat event and all of that. We had many people displaced. We had aftermath in terms of health issues within the communities that were affected, but also far beyond. The next picture is from Somalia, where people have to move following clan disputes because of access to water, which is caused by droughts, which are increasing because of climate crisis, because of environmental degradation. Can you imagine how those who are internally displaced, moving from one place to other, with young children, with vulnerable elderly, how they would cope and how they would receive health care, and what impact that would have on social cohesion, economic productivity, peace, and stability? This is why WHO, with other UN organizations, consider the climate crisis and environmental degradation a big threat to peace and prosperity around the globe. I'll let you read that slide yourselves. But could you imagine, and I was in the Pacific during the COVID pandemic, having the pandemic at your doorstep, but also a cyclone at the same time. That was what happened in Tonga during the pandemic. And this is repeated across many parts of the Pacific on a very frequent basis, but also in Asia Pacific. We have more and more people displaced because of climate-related disasters. Beyond the healthcare sector, as UN Secretary General said, the fallout of the assault on our planet goes beyond anything we can think about in terms of immediate and long-term issues around physical disturbance, heat, and all of that. It's also about poverty, food security, and peace, because of the displacements and conflict that I've been talking about. This is research that was published by the Pacific Institute, talking about water-related conflicts and how they're becoming more and more frequent. We have the Maui fires creating a lot of tension in the Americas. So there is no part of the world that is spared. And if you look at this very informative map that was put together by the German Advisory Council on Global Change, you can see that virtually everywhere around the world, there is one form of conflict or the other going on, either because of land disputes, because people wanted to have access to the least degraded land, or it's about water, or it's about transboundary air pollution, or it's about food security. And you can see there's virtually no continent that is spared. This is the mega risk that we need to deal with now and in the future. So, it's not all gloom and doom. There's a lot going on. The UN as a structure, with World Health Organization, as I said, starting with the premise that good health is definitely the right ingredient for peace, stability, and prosperity, began to negotiate and lobby for the health agenda to be part of the climate debate. So at COP26, that became a starting point to recognize that health as a fundamental human right is also a big agenda topic as we discuss about climate change and the environment. And we also recognize that you cannot actually leave the health sector out of the debate, because the health sector also contributes to carbon footprint. So how do we transform the healthcare system to become a low carbon system that reduces its own greenhouse gas emissions? In the region, environment ministers and health ministers met and had a Manila Declaration not too long ago to actually avow that we need to work together as environmentalists, as health practitioners, as financiers, to really protect people's health and protect the environment in which they live. The UN Environment Programme, with the World Food Programme, with FAO, with WHO, are working on a One Health joint action plan that looks at human health, animal health, and the health of the environment, such that what we do will be a consolidated approach to improve global health. The Institute, the IOM, UN Migration Organization, is also looking specifically at the impact of climate crisis on mobility, displacement, and I suppose you could say unplanned migration. The UNFCCC set out with a target to sustainably finance efforts to make sure that we take mitigating and adaptive action to reduce the impact of the climate crisis. We still have a long way to go. I put those slides, this particular slide up and those contents there to really reinforce what you've heard about Kim Dae-jung's legacy about international cooperation, about moral responsibility, about interconnectedness, about just transition, about equity. And every member state of the UN is striving very hard to make this happen. And importantly, those global commitments inform the national actions that are being taken by member states. And one of those member states that is really at the forefront of taking action is the Republic of Korea. And I say that because I'm actually a living example of the work that's going on from Korea. I work with WHO, the World Health Organization, and my office that is based in Seoul exists because of the support from the government of the Republic of Korea and the Seoul Metropolitan Government. And the agenda that we've set is to focus on taking the right action, the most effective actions to support member states in the region and beyond to take the right action to reduce the climate crisis impact on people's health. And at the moment, we are focusing on 5 areas of work. The first one is on air quality. And if we all agree that air quality is important because we cannot avoid breathing air. And unfortunately, up to 99% of the population of the world still breathe in air that is not meeting the WHO global quality standards for air quality. So it is everywhere around the world that we need to do something. And air crosses borders, it knows no boundaries. Therefore, in the Asia-Pacific region, our effort is focused on helping member states to think about policies that would improve the quality of air, such that communities can work together with governments in terms of transport, energy production, energy use, and the like. The second is around issues around the climate change and health. I've just shown you the impact of climate crisis when it comes to natural disasters on healthcare sector and healthcare infrastructure. Beyond that, the issue about supply chain, the issues around actually the availability of healthcare workers themselves. Nobody wants to live in an environmentally degraded area or disaster-prone area. You would rather avoid it if you've got a family, and of course, everybody wants to be safe. So how do we, in many ways, create an environment that is less unstable when it comes to the impact of climate? And I've mentioned so many times now today the issue about water-related conflict and water-related diseases. It is really sad and unacceptable from my perspective that in the 21st century, we still have populations that have not a guaranteed access to safe, potable water. And many parts of Asia still experience this. And if it's not about dirty water, it's about contaminated water. And then layer on top of that the issues around actually safe, clean water when you're within healthcare facilities, where you would expect that you should not be exposed to infections or risks to your health. So part of the work we're doing at the center is looking at appropriate technology that is sustainable, that is environmentally friendly, that we can adopt and scale up across the region in the most vulnerable parts of the Asia Pacific. And that's done in collaboration with academia, with industry, and through public-private partnerships. We still have a long way to go. And lastly, talking about the right partnerships. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here, to make sure that actually as we think about the legacy of Kim Dae-jung, we build that interconnectedness across public and private sphere in order to do the right thing and be effective in the way we handle this existential crisis that faces us. I think it's worth repeating that a clean, healthy environment is good for our health and is a fundamental human right. We all deserve it. We all have it when everyone has it. So it's important that we work together and avoid any exacerbation of the health crises that are related to climate crisis and environmental degradation. And we can only do that when governments take the right legislative action, the right investment decisions, and work together, looking at the evidence of what works, rather than blaming each other or pointing fingers, to work across boundaries through international cooperation so that we can avoid instability, conflict, and achieve peace and global security. My last message to you, if I leave anything, is to say that the environment we wish for tomorrow starts with the actions that we take today. So with that, I wish you further positive deliberations at the conference, and we all celebrate and hail the legacy of Kim Dae-jung. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your great presentation and emphasizing the importance of human rights and international cooperation. Actually, it's impossible to track the infectious disease, which is pandemic, and enhance public health without international cooperation. Now we have a couple of minutes. So if the audience or participant has any question, we'll have a couple of questions. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, no question. If so, okay, I have a question to Dr. Myung-ja Kim. My question is about human rights. Okay, climate change also may increase economic inequality and limit the right to access to healthcare. So this may exacerbate the human rights. What do you think is most needed to prevent the threat to human rights caused by climate change? So please tell us more specifically.
The crisis, the implementation of the climate change-related policies and measures may limit the access to healthcare. 한국말로 해보세요.
In Korean, please. In Korean, please. How can we separate the two factors? The policies and measures against the climate crisis and human rights and health care. Can you rephrase? How climate changes may have impact on the human rights? Are you saying that the climate changes have an impact on human rights because climate crisis would limit the access to the healthcare service? So what you mean is that
more severely from climate crisis.
Right.
That's the reality. So we have to help the poor, the developing countries with financial support and technology sharing and knowledge information sharing from the advanced economy in order to improve the human rights of all the global village. I mean.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your answer. Actually, we have, each 30 minutes, so that's all for session, okay? Thank you. Everyone, would you please give a round of big applause to two speakers? Thank you.